Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Talking Cryptocurrency podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rigden. On this episode of the show, we're talking to PJ Leimgruber of District0x. They're building a network of decentralized marketplaces and communities, powered by Ethereum, Aragon, and IPFS. But before we get to the interview, I've got this quick message. I really hope you like this show. I put a lot of work into it. If you do like it, would you please consider doing something for me? Give me a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, if you're a hardcore podcast listener, you are probably sick of hearing this. Every show begs for reviews, and it's a little annoying. But it does make a big difference. Those reviews help people decide to subscribe. They help guests choose which shows to go on. Those ratings and reviews for the shows are a direct way you can help this show grow. So, if you like this show and you want more, please help me. Take the time and give the show a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or whatever they're calling it now. Hello, and today I am with PJ Leimgruber of District0x. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
So could you tell me a little bit about the problem you're trying to solve with this project?
Yes. So we've picked quite an interesting problem to take on. And it really starts with looking at the marketplaces around the world. And before we jump in and talk about the cryptocurrency and the blockchain aspect of it, we just look at how the world's biggest marketplaces function. And to give you a really simple example, let's look at a company like a Uber or a Lyft, Airbnb, eBay. These are all, very, very large marketplaces that provide a service to the end user, where there's, some sort of functionality of listing items, buying, selling, rating and reviewing users. Another example of a marketplace may be, something like Fiverr or Upwork, where you're reading reviews of talent, and you're finding and hiring freelancers. So there's all these different different examples of marketplaces around the world that are used for various reasons. But one commonality is these marketplaces tend to be centralized, and the people that oftentimes use these marketplaces, whether on the buy side or the sell side, don't have a say in the code of conduct of what happens on these marketplaces. They don't have a say on, what content is added or deleted or removed. They don't have a say on, how the, revenue is generated or distributed through these platforms. So basically, these marketplaces can add, change policies, add and remove users at will. And it leaves the people using these platforms essentially helpless. So at District0x, we are taking the concept of the marketplace and we're applying it to the blockchain. So District0x itself isn't a marketplace. We are a network of marketplaces. So what we are building is a suite of tools that enable the creation of decentralized marketplaces on the Ethereum blockchain.
So is this operational now, or are we still working on it?
So we are always working on it. I think there will never come a point where District0x is complete. It's an evergreen project. It's will be a community ran project, community ran effort. So it's never going to be done. But we do have, so our marketplaces, we call them districts, and 0x comes from, the first two letters of like an Ethereum hash or really any sort of hash. So that's a little bit of background on the name. But so District0x has two districts that are live on the mainnet right now. The first one that launched actually predated District0x, and it's called ETHLance. And ETHLance is a freelance marketplace. So it's it was initially built with the Ethereum community in mind, but really anybody can post a job on ETHLance. So the goal is for freelancers and employers to be able to find and hire and do so without paying any fees. The only fees on ETHLance is just the simple gas fees for the transaction, for signing a transaction. Otherwise, it's completely free. And that was built in January of 2017. So ETHLance actually predated District0x. ETHLance was built by our co-founder Matus, and he built it. It was actually one of the first functioning dApps on the Ethereum mainnet. And our co-founder Joe Ergo found the project and outreached to Matus, and basically had this idea that the underlying principles that power ETHLance, like the user review and search and filtering lists, creating listings and searching and filtering posts, this concept can be stripped down and applied to any sort of marketplace. So then the idea for District0x was born. ETHLance was released under was kind of rebranded underneath the District0x network. And then we went on and we planned and will release more subsequent networks. So the second network that we put out was called Name Bazaar. And Name Bazaar is a auction site for the buying, selling, and reselling of ENS names. So those .eth names that you might have seen in the past.
So you're kind of trying to abstract the concept and model of a marketplace.
So we're taking the concept of a marketplace, and I think the first iterations are applying it to things that are in the Ethereum community. I think mainly because we'll see user adoption there. But really, in theory, any sort of marketplace can be created on the District0x network. So our plan is to we're looking to the community, specifically the DNT holders, to signal to us what the next districts we should build. So we have a third district plan that's called Meme Factory, and it's a token curated registry for the creation and issuance of rare dank memes. So essentially meme art. Then after that, we don't have a plan. There's no plan internally. Essentially there's no District0x team, right? Because we're a decentralized autonomous organization. So we look for the community to signal what we should build next. So we have a GitHub, and how it works is you come onto our GitHub and you create an issue in our GitHub, and you create what's called a district proposal. And very similar to like a mini white paper, you can talk about a district that you think would be worthy to build, and you kind of propose it. So you say, I want to build a district for various functionality. I want to build a district that buys and sells concert tickets. I want to build a district for influencer marketing. I want to build a decentralized version of the UFC. Really anything you can dream of. Our community has proposed to build, and we have about 170 district proposals in there. And what happens is our community will go and read these district proposals and then use their DNT to signal which ones the District0x the District0x resources will be used to build and deploy the next 5 districts.
So you're looking at building 5 more, or 5 total?
We're looking at building 5 more, and really ultimately what we're doing is while the resources from the resources are used to build these districts are being deployed, like to build ETHLance and Meme Factory and Name Bazaar. We're building a framework, an open source framework that's going to enable anybody that has an idea to create and submit their own district to what's called a district registry, which I'll talk to you about a little bit next. So we have 2 things that we're building. One is called D0X Infra, and it's the open source library of smart contracts that carry out all the functions on the blockchain that you would need to run a decentralized marketplace. The second piece of software is a district creation interface. So you can think of this like maybe like a WordPress template or something like that has some of the UI needed to create the district. And the goal is that as ETHLance and Meme Factory and Name Bazaar and the subsequent districts get built, the technology stack behind the open source framework gets improved, and then eventually D0X Infra and the district creation interface will be live, and then people in our community or people anywhere could come and use these tools, build their own decentralized marketplace. They won't have to have as much experience in Clojure or Solidity. They'll have to have a little bit of experience to piecemeal it all together, but the main work will be done. So kind of like how if you have a little bit of web design experience, you can build a website on Wix or Squarespace or WordPress. The same concept applies. And where it gets really interesting is we are building our own version of a token curated registry called the District Registry. And then when you build this decentralized marketplace, you would stake DNT and you would say, I want my decentralized marketplace to be within the District0x network. And then the District0x network token holders review the proposal. They look at the website and they decide, they're the gatekeepers that decide, the community is the gatekeepers that decide whether or not this decentralized marketplace belongs underneath the District0x in the District0x network. So it will either be approved and allowed into the network, or it will be rejected and it will be rejected from the network. At which point that the creator would need to make some changes and then ultimately reapply. So the burden of proof is really on the community to decide ultimately what projects will get to fall within the District0x network and which ones won't make the cut.
So you said this was a decentralized organization right now?
Correct.
Just generally, what are some of the challenges you faced in this? That seems like it might be very hard to manage.
Well, yeah, it doesn't. So I think a common misconception is, that these companies are like traditional startups, right? So everybody, works in an office and reports to a boss and clocks in at 9 and clocks out at 5. But that's simply not how a decentralized organization runs and functions. So just for example, the District0x doesn't technically we don't have any employees, right? We don't have any team members. We're all members of different organizations that contribute to the District0x code base. So the operations team and everything that happens on operations is all run underneath a company called Sorcerers. A lot of the development is from a Slovakian entity called D0x Infra Labs, and there's a host of different other companies and contractors essentially that put in proposals to work on the District0x network. In the future, anybody, any development team, any development shop will be able to submit a proposal to the District0x network, and the community will decide how the funds are deployed to ultimately allow the creation of and the further development of the network.
So you said you had a GitHub repository for the project. Is the code all open source, or is there some that's still pink? Everything is open source.
Everything's open source.
Wow,
yep.
Very nice.
As far as I know, there may be some things that are being developed now that aren't completely open, but the goal is, and if anything that's live is open source, and the goal is for everything to be open source. There's nothing proprietary about anything that we're building.
That is fantastic. So on the technical side, what have been some of the biggest challenges here? This is a pretty big endeavor.
I think the challenge, and I'm non-technical, so I can't speak to it, but I think the challenge is, when it starts from one developer and it starts from the brain of one person. And I think when, you have a vision and a roadmap in your head and ultimately being able to work with more developers and everybody that contributes to the District0x code base is on a different side of the planet. We have developers in Thailand and in Uruguay and in Italy and Belgium and the United States. So I think a lot of the challenge is just, syncing up with everybody and our time zones. And we end up doing a group call that ends up being at 8 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. Just simply, that's the only time where everyone in our time zone isn't sleeping. So I think logistics is probably one of the more challenging things.
So what are some of your future plans? You said about a couple more marketplaces and eventually making it more mature so anybody could kind of make a marketplace. Is there anything more recent or more sooner?
Yeah, so we are currently working on two projects internally that are both very exciting. One would be the deployment of eventually deploying Meme Factory, which is going to have a lot of technological advancements that aren't available to our other districts. Mainly, the whole use of a token curated registry, the issuance of ERC 721, coins for digital collectibles. So this is definitely something that we look forward to putting out, and there's not a lot of live examples out there. So we're blazing the trail with a lot of that, especially with our meme registry and our dank, or what we call the dank registry. So a lot of this is uncharted territory for us. We have an ongoing partnership with Aragon. So essentially, how it will work is Aragon is going to be the user interface that handles all the governance. So obviously, integrating with other teams, integrating with other code bases, putting it all together is something that's extremely exciting. And I think the thing that I love the most about the Ethereum and blockchain ecosystem is that different projects can integrate together, and that's the beauty of the open source. I think if you look at how marketplaces function, if Uber and Airbnb wanted to create some sort of partnership where you can pay a single fee and the driver will pick you up and take you to your Airbnb and give you the key to the front door, there would have to be a sit down amongst the CEOs and the boards, and they would have to put some sort of corporate partnership agreement together, and it would be a long and tedious process. Whereas, with the open source in the world that we live in, it's as simple as, combining code bases and making a simple integration. Obviously, I think developers are probably cringing at that. I know it's a little bit more challenging, but as far as the red tape goes, these collaborations are very, very possible, and quite frankly, they're encouraged.
It adds a lot of confidence to it. With these closed source systems, if they decide to shut it down, you're just kind of out of luck. Whereas with an open source product, you can try to keep it going. And it sounds like your marketplaces are kind of that same kind of philosophy, maybe.
Exactly. And the other thing is enabling marketplaces to be globally portable and accessible and open to every market. This week I'm doing I'm in the marketing department. So I'm a marketing mentor at a program this week, and just trying to give examples of simple markets like Airbnb and Uber. And I get hands that come up and people don't know what Airbnb and Uber is because it doesn't exist in every market. And I realized that, in at least in the United States, we have the benefit of having these awesome startups and service marketplaces that they don't have all over the world for various reasons, laws, or these things haven't just penetrated to these parts of the world. And that's not a problem that we have in the crypto and blockchain space. Is that it has nothing to do with borders and has nothing to do with where you're located in the world. Everybody's using the same stack, and that's neat.
Yeah, it's a really interesting project and really revolutionary. I know I probably said this a lot in this podcast, but some of the projects are more revolutionary than others. And this one really, because it's so foundational, it could change so much. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And, we build everything that's built is with the open source in mind. So we have documentation for we're working on something called the open source ops, the open source initiative, and we'll be releasing documentation on how all aspects of the company will run and function by the community. So not only development and open sourcing a code base with things, we do a live stream every 2 weeks ran by Brady McKenna, our community manager, and we'll open source that. Even the programs we use and how we interact with our guests. We'll open source our, how we post on our Twitter and our social media. So everything that's carried out by, the contractors that are currently, facilitating District0x could in theory be and will be run by anybody in the community that chooses to do so. And it's important for us that we push that narrative, moving forward, and that we take the steps necessary to completely decentralize and completely open source, like I said, not only the code but the entire functionality of the entire organization.
Yeah, it's really more of a philosophy. It's not just simply putting your code out there for everyone to see. There's a deeper philosophy and an attitude that open source needs to survive, and it seems like you really understand how that gels together.
Yes, and I think in many ways we want to lead the way, and we want to be seen as the trailblazers and the revolutionaries of the team that does it. Hopefully, that does it right. I don't think there is a book on the right and correct way to do it. I can't. It'd be presumptuous of me to say that we're doing it right or wrong, but I think we're trying to at least do it and do it in a way that other teams can look to us and say, okay, we should do it this way as well.
It's a very, very fascinating project. Is there anything that maybe I should have asked you that I missed?
No, I think we covered a lot of it, and I am sorry if I rambled on a bit.
No, it's fascinating. It's a very big project. I feel like I've just barely seen the tip of the iceberg.
I think one thing that I'd like to encourage your listeners, out there is we need people to use these marketplaces and use these tools, and we need people to breed cats on CryptoKitties and hire freelancers on ETHLance. And as cool as these tools are, generally across the board, we don't see utilization is that high. So I feel like the only people that use them are the people that are really, really into the space. And for things to really proliferate, we really want to see more people using them, more people trying them, and more people getting on board, more sharing, because there's really a shift. There's potentially a shift in the behavior of how these marketplaces function when they're truly open source. So adoption is just so important.
What do you think is holding back that adoption in the industry?
For me personally, I think the whole concept of interacting with MetaMask and gas and paying gas fees and, going to ETH gas station and checking the GUI and all those things, I think for a lot of people, it's challenging. When you say Bitcoin or Ethereum, you can, for those in the United States, you can go to Coinbase and connect a credit card and buy a Bitcoin or buy Ethereum, and then you have it in your Coinbase account, and that's really cool. You don't have to pay gas fees on Coinbase. That works out really great. But then when you want to actually interact with something and do something on Ethereum, then you have to get the Ethereum or get the Ether or the Bitcoin off of Coinbase and into a wallet, and send transactions and store your crypto safely, and pay gas and all of those things. And that's where I think for a little bit more than the average user, it gets a little bit scary. So I look forward to, and I know for a fact there are some teams. I know the Bloom team is working on some of this where the user experience, a lot of that user experience that I think limits some of the growth and proliferation of the network, like paying gas fees, will be handled by the project side and not by the user side. So I look forward to those changes and improvements in UI along the way. Just with transaction speed speeding up and user experience improving, I think that's what's really going to make the difference.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a few improvements that really make a watershed moment. I think we're all going to be surprised by the growth. Or at least that's my hope.
You can go to Google Play and download apps. You can go to the iPhones, the Apple Store and download apps. And when you can interact with Ethereum dApps the same way you do iPhone apps and Android apps without any extra sacrifice of user experience, then I think that's when we're going to see things fly.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and your project is truly amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate you reaching out to us and having us on. It's something that if you let me, I talk for 2 hours about it. I want to keep it. I want to keep it interesting as much as possible. I just want to let your users know if you have any specific questions. For me, my email is pj@district0x.io. You can also email us at hello@district0x.io. Quick plug: we do a community live stream. You can view it right. You could just simply follow us on Twitter at District0x and view it right in our Twitter or Facebook page. If you want to participate, at mixer.com/District0x, you can sign up and actually ask questions live and participate in our live stream. We invite guests on, but mostly we just kind of talk about what's happening with district proposals, what's happening in our community, what the news and updates are. So if you are interested in getting involved, those are obviously the ways that I recommend doing so.
Fantastic. I'll make sure I have all those links in the show notes. So thank you once again for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks. It's been great. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, PJ, for coming to the show. If you want to learn more about District0x, check out the show notes. I've got all the links right there. You've been listening to the Talking Cryptocurrency podcast. My name is Jason Rigden, and I have been your host. Thanks for listening to the show. If you liked it, please consider giving us a rating and a review on iTunes. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.